Hello, family members. I hope you're having a nice day today. I want to talk to you today about something that, well, it's been on my mind the last couple of days after Kanye, Ye, whatever you want to call him's most recent public antics, I guess is the best way to say it. And there's a question I can't stop thinking about. And it's the morality of discussing Kanye West and interviewing Kanye West and platforming Kanye West. And I think this is worthy of discussion. So here we are. So, if you are unaware, Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, gave an interview to like an influencer, video rap streamer kind of, like the only thing I really know about the guy is that he's a big fan of Drake and that he has done some questionable things with, an underage boy on the stream, and it was not good. And, maybe not anything like necessarily illegal, but some sketchy shit, That's all I know about the guy. And so it's like, what? Why is Kanye West interviewing with this guy who, as far as I know, is kind of looked at as a little bit of a joke? But I quickly realized what it was is the fact that guy is kind of like on the outs culturally right now is why Kanye would talk to him. Because Kanye, Ye, is a attention seeker. That's what he wants. He wants attention. He's doing whatever he can to be outrageous and get attention. And I just can't think of anything like sadder than that, Because much like Elon Musk, well, you get to a point where you realize you can't buy attention. You can, but you can't. You know what I mean? It's a very strange thing. When somebody gets that rich person disease and they finally have all the resources and power they ever wanted, and it's not making them happier, well, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to keep trying the same stuff, but harder now, I think Kanye West is going out of his way to do as many extremely hurtful things as he can and be as controversial and outrageous as he can as a method of maintaining his relevance in culture. He's given up on maintaining his relevance by creating art that speaks to people. That hasn't been what he's been trying to do. He tries to keep himself relevant by parading his wife around in very provocative outfits. And, if she weren't up for that, then he could probably find another wife who would do that, I hope he treats her well. I hope she's doing fine. But the fact of the matter is, I'm sure she and he and everyone else knows that she's technically replaceable, that he could find another wife very easily if she got tired of him, didn't want to put up with the shit. Every person around Kanye West is a replaceable person. Anyone who's had any power to check him is no longer in his life. And so he is just this cannon of anger and frustration. And it's got to be hard when you're the king of the cultural zeitgeist. When you are able to go out there and say things and speak for a generation, and you're like cool and you're top of the pile and A-list and all of those things, and then you're not anymore. Psychologically, that's a lot to deal with. And the washed up over the hill celebrity to right-wing pipeline is strong. Look at Kid Rock and Hulk Hogan and Scott Baio and Stacey Dash to a certain extent. I mean, there's a lot. I could go on and on and on. There's so many of them. Christy Swanson. Way to ruin the original Buffy for me. Anyway. I think this is the man who is acting out because he feels his age. He's having a midlife crisis. He's not at the top of his profession anymore. He probably is never going to be. And that's a lot to deal with psychologically. I get it to a certain extent. But I also am like, it's reckless to allow him the space to continue doing this. His children are going to know what he is saying about them. There's no way they're not. They can't be hidden from them. Maybe temporarily. Sorry. The internet's forever. They're going to see that video. For that matter. Dear Adonis is going to be Dear Adonis for the rest of his life, too, I imagine. Well, all children get raised with some amount of trauma. Nobody's life is perfect, but, you know, you've got a man who is calling Jay-Z and Beyonce's children the R slur because you don't see them very often. Just because those children, or maybe their parents, prefer that they have privacy doesn't mean anything. And the R slur as an insult, like if, say, Beyonce's son is autistic and so they never bring him into the public eye because it would be uncomfortable for him. Good. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's good parenting. What you're accusing them of is not something that is an insult. You're basically saying, I think Jay-Z and Beyonce are good parents who take care of their children and protect them. So weird, right? Like, why is that an insult? But he knows using the R slur for another man's children is likely to get a response out of that man. And if not out of that man, or out of the mother, people who care about those children, fans or people who actually know them, are going to speak out. He knows he can say that, and it's going to get a reaction. People are going to write news articles about it. I mean, that's how I know that he said it, because I don't go on Twitter. Very few people really do. It's so funny how it has such an outsized influence. But I don't know. I mean, this is something he has a pattern of doing. You know, he claimed that he had tried to convinced his wife to abort their first child, and she refused. Like, why would he do that to his daughter? I understand that the real reason that he would do that would be to hurt his ex-wife, or to hurt his, I think at the time that he said that, they weren't necessarily divorced, but I mean, it was on the way, I think. I'm not sure exactly the timelines there, but I don't like this constant use of children to try to be provocative and either hurt other people or garner attention for himself, or both. And I don't know that it's a great idea for people to interview him. I don't think that he needs to be being interviewed right now. I think he needs to be like not trying constantly to be in the public eye, but who's going to stop him? You know? If he's willing to deign to have like an interview with like some random, streamer influencer guy, he's always going to be able to find somebody like that will interview him. He's always going to be able to find a platform. And he's going to use that platform to say hurtful things about his own children and other people's children. And, I mean, just be absolutely over the top, offensively anti-black. Like, you tell me I can't be a white supremacist because I'm black? Fuck you, I can. And if nothing else, Kanye West proves to you that race is not real. Because, I mean, he's not the only black person that I can think of that has some pretty anti-black views, Like, you can't collect all people into the black race, because even if you try, there will people who be like, well, I'm not like the rest of those guys. I'm better than that. I'm one of the good ones. And try to ingratiate and assimilate with the white people. And that's where Kanye's at. And I don't know. I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, I just don't know that there's any way to morally handle this. He's going to be able to get his message out there. And once he's got the message out there, it'll be reiterated over and over in different circles. It'll be part of public record. And his children will have to deal with that. And the other people that he insults have to deal with that. And, the black community has to deal with the disrespect, the constant disrespect he shows towards black people. Very purposefully. I mean, again, this is nothing new. He did the White Lives Matter shirt with Candace Owens, right? Like, this is nothing new. This is just the same trick over and over again. And it gets more extreme each time. And it gets more potentially hurtful to his children. And if we can't keep him from putting these messages out into the world, is it more moral than to discuss them at least and point out how empty these gestures are, how meaningless, how it's all just bravado and grasping for the last little threads of relevance that he can try to hold on to? Ugh. It's sad, It's really fucking sad, because rich person disease is real. I mean, you just see it happen over and over again. You see people who, are gifted in some ways, and then they get so hyped up that they really believe their own hype. And they believe that they should be able to have their own way, even if society says no. I mean, Michael Jackson, I think, would be a good example of that. O.J. Simpson definitely had trouble with not being able to keep control of the situation. I mean, there's just over and over again, you see rich people who are thrust into this power of position and wealth, and it causes them to completely lose touch with reality. And it's really frustrating, because it's hard to tell a person, hey, you need to check yourself, you need to humble yourself, when there's a million people around them, they're telling them what they're doing is great. How are you ever going to get through that noise? So I wonder then, how does a child have any sort of healthy relationship with a parent who has this rich person's disease? I think a good example of this would be Angelina Jolie, actually. Her famous father, I think, had a little bit of rich man's disease, and they just couldn't have a healthy relationship, and to the point where, like, literally she cut off all association with him. I mean, going no contact with your father's got to be a tough thing to do, or any member of your family, right? And then have to do that in the public eye too, everyone gossiping about it. I don't think being a celebrity is a good thing. I just don't. I don't think that people should want to be celebrities. I think, it's not a good way to have a happy life. How many really happy celebrities do you know of? There's few. There's a few. But I also think, even if they start out with good intentions, it's easy to let the power get in your head, corrupt you. I mean, look at Ellen DeGeneres. Oh man, I loved watching Ellen's show. I don't really remember anything about it. I don't think it was the most memorable show or anything until she came out, right? And then it became a whole thing, and then she had this like second career as a talk show host, and I just, I didn't have any interest in that. I was kind of past the age where talk shows meant anything to me. When I was younger, I was a Lisa Gibbons fan. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, and Maury Povich, and I watched all sorts of ridiculous stuff. But, Ellen, I was not into that kind of TV anymore. But I was happy that she had success. I was happy that she found a stable relationship with an extremely beautiful woman. I was happy for her. But when I found out what was happening behind the scenes on her show, I honestly wasn't surprised. Because that's the rich person's disease, Getting everything that you ever wanted apparently is just not good for you. I don't know. I guess not. That's all I can conclude from what I see, I just don't see that many people who don't have a whole lot of turmoil in their lives that are famous, And that's probably the ones that you don't hear anything about. Those are the ones that learn how to like manage it and not really catch the rich person disease or the famous person disease, you know? Kanye West is an interesting topic for me because I didn't really listen to his music. I haven't really listened to much of his music, honestly. I was just not into, I didn't listen to much rap at the time. Well, I didn't listen to much commercial rap at the time that he was big, you know? I was like listening to a lot more indie stuff. I wasn't always being a hipster, you know? You know how it is when you're in your like 20s and 30s, early, you know, like your late 20s, early 30s, and you think you're like the shit. Anyway, I kind of like saw him, you know, from this outsider perspective. I knew that everyone said, you know, that he was an extremely talented producer, and then now he had, you know, kind of come forward and become an artist and was very talented, and people were always very interested in what he was saying and doing. I mean, obviously you're aware of the George Bush doesn't care about black people, and I'm gonna let you finish, and all of the things, all of the big major Kanye antics. But, you know, like, I'm not a reality TV kind of person. I've never watched the Kardashian show or whatever. I honestly don't even know for certain how many of them there are. I get a little confused, but it's fine. You know, whatever. People are allowed to live their lives however they want. It's not my place to judge, right? But I didn't have any real interest in that. And so I really didn't have much interest in Kanye other than the just surface stuff. And then once he really started acting out, you know, once his relevance was starting to become less, and you could tell he was feeling it, and he started acting out in these weird, you know, utterly bizarre, totally offensive ways. Then I'm like, all right, what is going on with this guy? And so at that point, you know, I start kind of finding out more about who he is, what he's like, his background, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so I'm looking at it with the benefit of hindsight. You know, I know that in the moment, the way that people looked at him was very different. The way they read his actions was very different than the way that I would looking back at them in retrospect, you know, knowing where it was going. It hits different, I'm sure. And I can see that he has a very high level of just like raw intelligence. But he is very opposed to any sort of like formal academic education or experts' opinions, things like that. You know, he's wanting to be the guy on the edge, the bleeding edge. You know, he wants to be the one who is saying the things that nobody else says, and doing the things that nobody else does, and, you know, pursuing the thoughts that are a little taboo, all of that. That's who he wants to be. And when you want to be on the edge for the sake of being on the edge, it's so obviously disingenuous that it's just, I don't get it. I don't get the point of it. It's so empty, you know? It's so performative. Like, does he think that this is going to make people take him more seriously? Because no, it's not. Of course it's not. Do you think it's going to I don't know. I think that in a lot of ways, he's just lashing out because the biggest rapper in the game is Kendrick Lamar, and he can't handle it. Like, Kendrick Lamar came out and did something that became a total cultural moment. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody had an opinion about it. He was on the freaking Super Bowl. Everybody watches the damn Super Bowl. You know, I think that was too much for Kanye. I really do. I think that he just cannot freaking handle that he has lost his relevance. And that's just a natural thing that happens. There's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that he's fallen off or that the work that he made is of lesser quality. It just means that his time has passed. That happens. We all age if we are lucky enough to do so. That Kanye, I tell you. So I don't know. Is it good to talk about him? Is it, I mean, because it does feed into giving him attention. Or is it more important to make it clear that we see the emptiness and that it's not valid, it's not worth letting it make a big impact if we can avoid it, you know? I was watching some clips from Breakfast Club about this whole thing, and Charlamagne the God said that Kanye basically misrepresented that he wasn't getting his money off his music that Jay-Z was. He said that's not true. And, you know, I think it's good. That's out in the public record, you know, that there's people out there that are telling different sides of the story and pointing out the contradictions and pointing out the performative nature of it. So all of that is documented and is available for anyone who might be hurt by the way that he is acting and the things that he's saying and the things that he is doing. Well, family members, I think I'm kind of out of steam here. I'm trying to see if there's any of these animals that want to say hey. I think Osprey does. You want to come say hi, Osprey? Osprey! Osprey! Come here, baby. Come here, Shimmertail. Where's Mama Shimmertail? Oh, she's coming. She's coming. Come here, baby. Come say hi. Come say hi, see? Camera shy. She's like, oh, I'll take a petting down here. I'll let people see the tip of my tail. Oh, there you go. I just had to stop asking. That was it. You know how cats are. Kanye and cats, pretty much the same thing, right? Hi, baby. You gonna show your ass? A little bit. You know, sometimes when she comes and she stands on my lap like that and kind of puts her butt in my face and I'm smoking, I just blow smoke up her ass. She's asking for it, man. All right, family members. I got a little animal interaction there at the end. I always like to include that because, number one, they're cute. And number two, my former therapist said that she liked that when I had videos with animals in it. So in tribute to her, we got Osprey to come see us and put on a little show. All right, family members, I hope you have a lovely evening. What the hell? What? Why do you have a string in your mouth? Oh gosh. I hope I have a lovely evening too. Apparently, I got to do a little work here. uh, have a nice night, and I'll talk to you later. Oh my gosh, I'm spraying water.